Hey, hello everyone. Great. So a lot of people are joining. Just give it a few minutes so everybody could join, and then we would be starting today's topic. And the topic for today's call is basically we are going to talk about how you can create more effective automation or workflows to streamline your business needs. So you guys have taken so essentially when we automate automation in our system, it is something should happen and then a system should take some sort of action on the basis of something that happened. So let's say a customer filled out a form. As soon as he submits it, there should be something happening within the system, like maybe a thank you email should go, or maybe something, an SMS should go, something. So, how do we create that? How can we make it more exact? And because there are so many things that are redundantly happening in the system, because there can be more than one form in the system, how do we tell the automation which form the customer has submit and then which email should be sent? Because if there are two different forms, two different products, how the system would know which form it is filled and which email should be sent? So that's what our topic for today is. We're gonna wait one more minute. So if anybody is remaining, then he could join, and then we're gonna start our Wednesday feature fiesta. Okay. Okay, let's start. You guys can see my screen, correct? So let's start. Give me 1 second. Let me bring up the chat as well. There we go. Okay, so this is one of the new workflow that we are creating. The very first thing we would want to do is name the workflow. I'm gonna call it demo for class workflow. And now let's put up the triggers. So any workflow, before we start putting up the triggers, let me tell you what are the parts of the workflow. So the workflow has two different parts. One is the triggers. They will be side by side to each other if there are multiple triggers within one workflow. And then there would be actions that the system has to take after a trigger is triggered. Linearly downward movement. So every time you see actions, there will be one below the other. And the triggers will be side by side to each other. So let's say we have a site where we have set up a form that the customer is filling out, and then we want to send him a thank you email, and we want to collect his contact information, and we want to use it in another workflow to nurture him to purchase one of our products. So he's filling out a form only. So our trigger is going to be form submitted. And then this is the important the part of our topic. If we just tell it that a form was submitted, so any form within the system, if anybody submits that, this workflow will start. That's not what we want. We want him to, we need to tell the system which form the customer has actually filled out. Oh, there are many forms. So let's say we select the opt-in form one. That's the form I want my customer to fill out and start this automation. And when you are setting up the triggers, always name them in here, the workflow trigger name. You should tell them which form it is. That will help you in longer run to troubleshoot. Whenever you come back to check your workflow or automation, if they are working correctly or not, you can go through easily troubleshoot them if you have put up the name of the form in here. So, or more details in the name. So I'm giving it name, so I would know form one, and yes. And now I want the system to actually, first thing I want to do is put a tag to that person. I want that person to be tagged as opt-in form. Let's see. Yeah, let's say we are selecting the Thanksgiving opt-in uh, tag that we want to put up for the on the contact. And again, I'm gonna give it a name in here. Opt-in Thanksgiving and save it. Then the next thing I want to do is create an opportunity card for it, for that particular contact. I want him to be present in the pipeline. So I'm gonna select the pipeline as opt-in webinar, for example, and I'm gonna tell it that is an opt-in lead. And the opportunity name, I'm gonna tell it to select as from the custom values or custom fields. From the contact, full name, opportunity source, I'm gonna tell it the source in the contacts, I think so. Where is the source? There we go. And the lead value. I can fix this value, or we can pick this value from custom values or custom fields. So I'm fixing this value to like 500. And the lead status, I'm gonna tell it that it's an open lead that I just received. So I'm gonna make him nurture him so I could make him my customer. Now, the lead value that I set up in here as 500, this is what my expectation is to earn from this particular lead or contact. Okay, and now let's save this action, and then we're gonna send him an email, and we're gonna send him thank you for submitting form, something like this is the subject, and something in here. This is where I am thanking him for submitting the form. And from email, I'm gonna tell it to use my name. And sorry, this one is the from email, so it's gonna be this one. Come on. There we go. And from name is gonna be from me. It's gonna be my full name. And then we can save this action. This is my thank you email. So I'm gonna call it thank you email. Yeah. And now this is the basic trigger. One person has submitted a form in your website, and then he was added a tag. His card was created in the pipeline, and he was sent a thank you email. Also, it should notify you. So there should be an internal notification right here, and I'm gonna tell it to send me an internal email notification, and I'm gonna tell it new lead opt in form submitted. And I'm gonna tell it, okay, Hey, and I'm gonna use some of the custom values. Hey, username, a new lead form is submitted. Below is the details of the contact. Yeah, let's call that. And we can tell it contact name, contact email, contact phone. Here, I'm gonna again use the custom values, and those are going to be contact name, contact email, and contact phone number. And then I'm gonna save this action. Oh, we have to tell it the user type is assigned user. No, not the assigned user. Let's select the custom particular user, and let's select this one, for example, and let's save it. Now, what is happening as soon as the customer submits the form, after doing these actions, it's gonna send an internal notification to us in the form of the email, and email is gonna say this as the subject line, and this is gonna be the message, and it's gonna fill out these double braces values automatically. Hey, the user, whoever is sending, and the contact, the person who has filled his name, his email, and his phone number that this form is submitted. Now it's alerting the admin that somebody or lead or contact has submitted a form. Now, all this is happening because of this one trigger on the top. And in here in the filter, we are telling it that which form the person is or the contact is submitting. Now, let's give you a very interesting, let me save this. And by the way, this workflow is not active right now because it is on the draft mode. But let me show you very interesting thing in here. Let's go to sites and let's go to form builder. And in form builder, let's go to Heather's custom form. It has all these different boxes, and I'm gonna create one more, a custom question. Let's see what we have like. Do you want to be VIP? Yeah, let's put it that one. And let's not make it required. So, and let's save this. Now, this is very interesting. So let's say this is the form that your contact is filling out. And in there, one of the question is, do you want to be a VIP? If they put a checkbox, then we want to send them a different email. But if they don't put a checkbox in here, we want to send them a normal email. How we can do this in the automations? So let's go and go to our automations. The name of automation was demo for class, this one. Now let's change the form to the Heather one, Heather's custom form. Now it knows the Heather's form is the one we are using. Now there are two ways to tackle. If the person or the contact has put a check mark there or not, we can tell it within the trigger in here, and we can use more filter, and we can tell it, what was the question? VIP, something about, yeah, do you want to be VIP? If he has checked it, then put him in this workflow. If he didn't check mark on that box, the person will not be added to this automation at all. That is one way to tackle if we want to send out two different emails. Or we can create the same thing within the workflow, and we can tell it use the if-else condition in here, and let's call it VIP yes, and the none branch. Okay, so in the contact details, I'm gonna search for VIP. Okay, where is my custom values? Do you want to be VIP? Do. So it will be in D, this one. And I'm gonna tell it if it includes the answer yes, then put it on this side of the workflow. If he doesn't put a check mark there, then he will be put up in here. Let's copy all these actions in here. And let's put opt-in thanks. And let's put another tag in here. Let's put him to a different stage of the pipeline, like this one, for example. Let's change its value to 250, for example. So, and the thank you email could be different for this person. I'm gonna say this guy gonna receive this email. And in internal notification, I'm gonna tell it VIP, and I'm gonna tell it the VIP is equal to no, because he didn't put a check mark there. But for this one, I can tell it VIP yes. VIP yes. So what is happening now is once the customer submits this form, the if else is checking if within the form he put a check mark on the yes for the VIP or not. If he put the check mark, then that person will automatically be filtered to this line. And if he didn't put up the check mark, then that person will automatically be filtered to this line. And we can put up totally different actions in here. And yeah, so we can tackle within the form, we can filter out the people according to our own questions. We can create our own question, and on the basis of the questions, we can sort those people to different areas, to different emails, messages. Maybe we want to, if he's VIP, we are sending him an email with our different product. If he doesn't want to be a VIP, we are sending him a different product email, or maybe a different calendar link to book a meeting, and so on and so forth. So that's how you can customize the trigger as well as the actions within here to take the appropriate action. Now, what I want you guys to do is create one scenario right now. Think of a scenario and tell me, and we'll create the workflow for that particular scenario, and we'll see how we can automate the things. Please unmute yourself and tell me one of the scenarios that you want me to create for you. Anyone? Does anyone have like no one? Well, that is interesting. Nobody volunteered for that. Okay, no worries. So let's create another scenario. And this time I'm gonna call it for class. I'm gonna call this workflow 1. Let's save this. Let's create another workflow. And this one is again gonna be called demo workflow for class. I'm going to call it 2. So here is the scenario that I have in mind. Let's say we have a webinar for our customers. And after the webinar, I want to know how many people actually booked the webinar. And out of those, how many actually attended the webinar? And how many booked but did not attend the webinar? How we can do that? So this is a very particular scenario. For that, what we can do is, first thing first, we need to create a trigger link from here. And okay, this is the one that is already created. Let's edit that. And so sale process form is submitted for webinar registration. And if something happens, it's sending it to outward and it knows that that person has booked. So now we can use this. If somebody clicked on this trigger, it will start the workflow. Let's go to our demo workflow for the class 2. So it's gonna be trigger link clicked, and we need to tell him which trigger link it is because we want that to be very particular. So what was the name? Trigger link example. And now anybody who clicked on it have booked. Now we want to sort out of those how many attended or not. So for that, we can do 2 things. And one thing we can do is update contact status in the opportunities, move the people in the pipeline, and we can sort them out. So how we do that? So in the pipeline, I'm thinking that I have created a stage where it would say webinar attended. And on the basis of that, now I can sort them who actually attended my webinar or not. So again, it's gonna be if else and attended. I'm gonna tell it can't work no workflow event where are the tags. So here, let's see, do we have tags? Tags. Where are, there we go. And if the tag includes webinar, come on, webinar, where is webinar attended? Attended webinar, okay. And if they have attended the webinar, they will automatically be sorted to this line. And if they haven't attended the webinar, they will be sorted to this line. But for this one, yes, please go ahead. If they didn't, how we can, then we can nurture them to book another session for our next webinar. So that's how, if somebody attended our webinar, now we know we have sorted them in this line. And if they haven't, we can nurture them, send them a series of email to book another webinar with us and do it. Yes, Zubair, please ask your question.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop at the moment. I'm trying to do the same that trying to do the same thing that you are doing at the moment. So, but I just missed one thing: the trigger. When there is a tab when you showed me.
Let me go to the...
Because that over there, after the campaign up there, there are triggers, but I don't seem to see that in my
no worries. Please share your screen and let's see what is happening in your account.
Okay. So I have requested to be.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just allowed it.
All right. So here I
You
use.
don't have the triggers. Okay. In your case, how we can, if you don't have the triggers, then
Mm,
how can we actually tackle it?
mhm.
Okay. Hmm. Mm, how can we know if they have? Okay, in that case, we will use the calendar one. So let me, okay, stop sharing your screen. Let me show you
Okay.
without the trigger how we can create the automation if we don't have any trigger. Let me share my screen again. This is the one. Yes. And let's go to demo. This is the one. And this one is even more easier. Let's delete this trigger because we don't have trigger. So what will happen? Our trigger is gonna be appointment, customer booked an appointment, and we have to tell it which appointment it is that he has booked. So we have to tell him in the calendars, like the webinar calendar, we have to tell him. Is there any webinar calendar? Let's assume this is the webinar calendar.
Okay.
And uh, okay, let's not put any tags. Let's not complicate it. So if the customer has booked an appointment in this calendar, and let's at least appointment confirmation. So if he booked an appointment in this calendar, it will automatically put him if he has the webinar attended tag. But for this condition to work right away, it won't work. There is a fatal flaw in this workflow. What? That fatal workflow flaw is we haven't put up the wait condition in here. The system need to hold the people till the webinar happened. So let's say the webinar is happening after 3 days. So we should wait for at least 3 days in here. Everybody should wait in here for 3 days, and then then the contact should move to the condition where it would check if they have attended or if they haven't attended the webinar. Okay. So do you have any other scenario in your mind for me to show you how we can use the automation to automate that? Go
Okay.
ahead.
So now back to that trigger, the first customer book appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to tick that from one of the available.
Calendars. So calendars you have to create for webinars. Okay, let me save this. For webinar, obviously, you will be creating a new calendar and event type calendar in the settings, then in calendars. This is where you will create the calendar where your customer will come to book the webinar seats. Let's see, do we have any
So we
event
have to
type?
create that first.
Yes, you have to create that first, and it has to be active first before
Mm-hmm.
it would show up in the workflows.
Okay. All
If
right.
it is on the draft mode, then it won't show up in the workflow like this one, the revenue growth strategy session. This particular calendar won't show up because it's on the draft mode. But this one, where it says follow up later, call with Adam, it is
Uh-huh.
active. This one will
All
show up
right.
because it is active calendar. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to first create a new calendar, like the, let's see, event type calendar. We'll call it the webinar calendar, something, something. We fill out, we create that, we activate that, and then we send that calendar link to the person to book the call, to book the webinar session, and then this trigger will start to work.
Okay.
But because there are way too many calendars, so we need to use the filter to specify on which calendar this event is happening before it could start the automation. Okay,
Mm.
Kate, yeah, we can add contact tags in here. So as soon as he booked, he can add the tag as uh, webinar booked. So we can add this tag, webinar booked. So as soon as he booked the appointment, we should put a tag on the customer so we would know this is the particular person who booked our webinar session. Now, this is very simple workflow. We are not sending him any message. We are not doing anything with it, but we are only sorting the people who have booked for the webinar, then if they have attended or if they haven't attended. TQVM. What does that mean, TQVM?
Thank you very much.
Oh, oh my goodness. I'm old. I'm old. Sorry, I don't know these short language words. Sorry about that. That happened. That comes with the age, you know. I'm an old man. Now I know I am an old man. Okay, so think of some scenario, uh, a complex one where we have to do something has to be very particular in the system that needs to happen, and then we can sort them in different categories. Just like I showed you with the forms. If they have answered one question in the form as this, do this. And if they answered the otherwise, then do the other thing. So if you have any scenario, just unmute yourself and tell me, and we'll build the workflow for that as well. Come on, guys, give me some workflow. Okay, can you please help us show us how to do the Facebook or Instagram workflows after this? Yeah. So, okay, if there is no particular stereo that is coming in your mind, let's take the question from Kate, how we can like do the Facebook and Instagram ones. Let's create a new workflow for that. So let's put the trigger for Facebook. Now, for Facebook, there is this Facebook lead form submitted. So this is if you have a form on your Facebook business page, you are running some sort of ad, and there is a form, you can select this trigger and you have to tell it on which page this particular trigger is, then you have to tell it which form it is. Right now, for this account, we are not using any Facebook integration, so that is why the list is empty. But when you have connected your Facebook business page and you're using the forms, let me show you that area too. So in the settings, if you go to the integrations, this is where you need to connect your Facebook and Instagram. Once you have connected them in here, any form that you're running in the form of the ads, you can map them in here. Right now, it's gonna give me the error because my Facebook is not connected in here. But when you have connected, any forms will show up in here. You can map them out, and then within the workflow, you can tell it which form in the Facebook is actually submitted for which you are doing this particular task. So that is how you will use the Facebook one. Okay. And this was for the Facebook form. Now, what if somebody sent you a message on your Facebook page? Then how can we reply to that person or trigger some sort of automation? So one scenario is they filled out a form, they didn't send us any message. We use the Facebook form submitted, but if somebody sends us a message on our Facebook page or Instagram page to our post or to our anything, like they DM'd us. So that one is going to be customer reply trigger. But because this is a very generic, again, very generic trigger, so we have to tell it where the customer replied. So we have to tell it, okay, he replied in a particular channel, and I have to tell him that he replied in Facebook Messenger. And then I have to tell him, and it contains the phrase, like, for example, I told my customer to send me a message with free, and I will give them an ebook, for example. That's my scenario. I will just send them this ebook to them. If somebody sends a Facebook message with free to me, it will trigger in the Facebook Messenger, and they send me the word free. It will send them this email, which contains my ebook to them. So this is for Facebook. For Instagram, reply channel is going to be different. It's going to be Instagram. It's going to be live chat, SMS, WhatsApp, email, chat widget that you put up on your website. So anywhere you can select all these. If you don't use these filters, what will happen? If we don't use and we save the trigger right here, and somebody sent us a message anywhere in the SMS, in the email, this workflow will start. So the filters are kind of necessary to tell the system what is happening in the system and where it is happening. So we have to do that. Okay, and okay, reply channel. Let's select, okay, Instagram DM, and I'm gonna tell it. Okay, so I'm gonna use the intent is positive, and I'm gonna tell it that it contains a phrase. What should be product, for example. This is the word that I want them to send to me in a message, and I want them to have like, and they should not have not interested tag in it. No. Hey. Now this filtering that I have done in here, let me explain you what is happening. So on my Instagram, I just published a post that told my viewer to send me message about my product, and I want to start the automation on the basis of that. But in the filters, I'm using two extra things. One, I'm checking if their intent is positive, if they are positive about the product purchase, maybe. So I told it to check for the intent first thing. So it will check if the intent is positive, then it will check they are talking about the product name. So they have sent me a long message, and within that message, does that contain the word product? And within my system, that particular contact is not tagged with not interested. If that is happening, all these conditions are fulfilled, then it will automatically send them an email or start the automation. You can do a lot, like add a trigger to the pipeline, so on and so forth. So you can, like, using the filters is making the things very particular, pinpoint to the place, to the thing which you want them to be automated to. Okay. Okay, Zubair or Kate, do you have any other
Yeah, I have
suggestion?
another question actually.
Yeah.
When I open this the calendar button,
Hmm.
when I click on the calendar button,
Hmm.
um, when I click new, for example,
Uh-huh.
what appears is the title is book appointment. And then the calendar says duplicate before edit. Is it because it's a trial thing or?
Please share your screen.
Okay.
Kate, that's a very good question. After Zubair, I'm gonna come back to you. Okay. Oh, you are booking an appointment. This is not the calendar's place. Close that.
Okay.
So
So
click on the settings in here in the bottom left corner.
okay, let me check.
Let me select the arrow. Close this by clicking on this cross icon.
Okay, one moment.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the. Okay.
And now click on the settings in bottom left corner, right here.
Okay, bottom left.
Settings. Go to the extreme bottom.
Okay.
There we go. And now you go to the calendars. This is where you create your calendars, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now
All
stop
right.
sharing the
Thank you very much.
screen. And so the scenario that we got is how can we create kind of like a chatbot workflow that auto responds. So for our scenario, let's say we are creating a chatbot. Let me delete this action as well. Okay, let me think. Okay, the message is coming from our website chatbot. And I would select as customer reply. Filter is going to be first thing I'm going to tell it that the channel is my chat widget. And then I'm going to tell it, okay, let's not make it complicated. Let's keep this. Somebody sent a message on our chat widget. Now we want to reply him. So first thing is we gonna send him, okay, so the SMS, let's send him an SMS message and we can tell it, thank you very much for your query. Our team will be in contact with you shortly. And let's save this. So as soon as the customer sent the message, the customer will receive this SMS. But now you need to be notified as well because you are going to reply to that person. So internal notification is going to be like, let's say email, and let's select the particular user. Let's select Adam, and subject is customer or customer replied chatbot. Something in here you can fill out. And now you will receive the notification with the information so you could reply to the person using the system. But what happens to this workflow if the customer replies us again in the chatbot? So for that to work, we need to go to the setting and we need to tell it to allow re-entry. So every time the customer sends a message in the chatbot, this is what it is going to happen. But like for first message, it should send the thank you message. But for the next time he sends the message, we should not send this. It would look very bad if we are saying every time, okay, my team is going to respond, my team is going to respond. It's going to be very bad. So how can we tackle that? To tackle that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a tag in here, okay? And we're gonna tag it like, let's put chat replied tag. And in the customer in here, I'm gonna use the if else again. And this time I'm gonna tell it, I'm just doing it very quickly so you could see where is the tags, and if it includes what, chatbot, something, that's what, yeah, chat replied. If it has chat replied, then okay, copy all of these action, put them in here, and just take this message out. Now this is what is gonna happen. And so every time a person will reply, it will check if it has a tag, it will put them in here and it will notify you to reply to the person. If it doesn't have the tag, that means that's the very first message the customer has sent. It will send them the message. My team is going to be replying to you shortly, tell you to reply to him and put a tag. So next time the message could be filtered out automatically to the other side and not sent the message again and again to the person saying that my team is going to reply. So that's like the most basic functionality for kind of like a chatbot. It's not the chatbot automation, but it's kind of like that. I'm not making it complicated, rather making it very easier so you would understand this workflow. But for this particular workflow, it's one of the necessary requirement is you need to enable this, allow re-entry to the workflow. And once that is enabled, then a person, every time he replies in the chat bot, the chat widget, it will gonna do this. Now, let's say we want to actually automate and create a bot. We can do that by taking his message and putting it to our AI systems, and we can reply that using that prompts. I don't suggest we should go in that details. Do you guys want to go in that details?
Not at the moment.
Yeah, it's we advise to duplicate our clone any templates we are planning to use. Future duplicates, backhand. Yep. Okay, noted. That helps. Awesome. Okay, so Kate says, so if you had a sequence of possible auto replies on Facebook, Instagram, would be just write filters, what you have done. Yes, that is correct. We would use the filters and the if-else condition. This if-else condition is like your best friend. Every time you can use the tags, like let's say we create another branch in here, and in the contact reply and reply message contains free stuff, for example. And in another branch, we can say that contact reply message contains a webinar. Now it's very bad example. I'm giving you a very bad example, but let's assume that the person we are talking to is actually a robot and he can only say free stuff and webinar. Those are the two words. But let's say this is what is happening. Now our condition has this one. If he says the free stuff, he will come up in here and you can reply accordingly. If he says the webinar, you can reply accordingly, so on and so forth. But because these are way too many prompts and this condition is going to take up a lot of your screen space and a lot of messages. But if you can think of all of them, yes, you can. Otherwise, what we usually do is we take out the message, we put it to the AI, we tell the AI to respond it, we copy that message and back in here automatically by using the contact update field. So we put the customer's message in one of the fields that we have already created in the system. And then we tell the next action to put it to the AI bot. And then whatever he replies, we put it in another field and we update another contact field and we send that field as a reply to the customer. That is the basic explanation of any automated chatbots that you can create within here. But it does involve one complicated step, that is how we pick the information from contact field to the AI and from the AI back to the contact field to be replied to the customer. Okay, I hope I have answered your question in detail, everything. Sorry, I lost the thought which I was gonna say, so there we go. Okay, now we have like 3-4 more minutes. If you guys have any other question, please go ahead and I'll be happy to tell you how we can use the trigger filtering within here. This is what our topic for today's class is, how we use the filters to filter out the messages. Like, take it this way, the chat widget, rather than doing it in here in the condition, we can tell it if they are talking about webinar, put them in this workflow. If they are talking about free stuff, put it in another workflow where the customer reply trigger would be same, but the phrase would be free stuff. So that way now you have two different workflows to tackle two different types of customer. It would depend on what type of post they are responding to. And on the basis of that, you can create multiple workflows, and those workflows can be then used to automate your processes. But the important point is always use the filters when you're setting up your triggers. These filters are your best friend. Always use them. Any trigger. Let's click on any trigger. Like let's say call status. Now, if we don't tell it what status, then any change in status is going to trigger an automation. So we have to tell it the call direction. That is the first thing. Okay, I want that call to be incoming. Somebody called me. And then I want the status of the call to be, maybe I was busy and I canceled it or I didn't answer it, then something should happen. Now, if I just set it up to, for example, call status incoming, and I didn't tell it, so even though I have discussed or I have talked with the customer already on the phone call, the automation will still start to work because we didn't specify that the call status need to be busy. I didn't talk to the customer. So the filters are actually making the very specific action within the system to automate anything. So right now we have like 2 or 3 more minutes. Click on the add trigger, go through these triggers and see which one you think is difficult one, and I can talk about that. Okay. Oh, the chat widget. Let me show you that one. That's a good question. So in the sites, if we go, this is where you're gonna see the chat widget. You can create your own chat widget. And let me show you this chat widget. So let's assume this is your website. This blank page is your website. This is what the chat widget would look on your website. So you can create the chat widget, you can style it and customize it, the coloring, what should be the question, what should be the answer, what should happen in the chat window, what information should it collect, and like you can put a check mark and just it's gonna collect that information. Now, whenever they send it a message through here, we created an automation by using the customer reply to chat widget and then we are talking to him. And to enable that, if you have created your website within the funnels or website in here, let's say you have created this funnel. So to enable the chat widget, you will go to the settings, and in the chat widget, you will select the chat widget that you are deploying to your website. Let's say I select the default chat widget and I save it. Okay, come on, save it quickly. There we go. And now if we look at the preview of the landing page, whatever the default chat widget is, it's gonna appear in here. So there we go. Have a question, and it's happening when we type, your customer types something in here, the automation will trigger on the basis of customer reply trigger with the chat widget as the filter. Okay. And okay, let's not mess the live site. So I'm just gonna put it none back there. Sorry about that. I think that was a live site that I was playing with, so sorry about that. But that was an interesting question, where we can create the chat widget and how we can deploy it on our site. Within the chat widget, if your website exists outside this system, let's say your website exists on WordPress, you can always get the code for WordPress or for any other type of site. You just put this code on your website, and this chat widget will start working on your external site without any problem. Okay. Where to get the chat widgets done? As I don't have any, that helps a lot. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So that's about it for today's class. Our topic was how we can customize and use the power feature within the automation to tackle very particular events within the system. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Homework. Okay, that's a good question. Let me see. Did I actually plan any homework? Give me 1 second. Mm-hmm. Ah, the homework is create a workflow for, let me think. Okay, here is the workflow that I want you guys to automate. So, what you need to do is you need to create a form where there should be a question which should have like 4 different options. And for all 4 options, you should send a different email on the basis of the option that the customer has selected. And if he doesn't select, then you need to send him the form link again and tell him to select that option. I know we can do it within the forms by making that question required. They can't submit without filling out that question. But let's say the question is not required, 4 different options, and if he doesn't fill up that question, fifth type of email is telling him fill out that form again with that question answered. I want you guys to create that system, that workflow in here, and show us in the screenshot it, your trigger, and show if you're using any if else condition there. That's about it. Great. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll see you guys on next Wednesday, and have a great day. Good morning to you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.